Is Jalen escaping from the pocket too early?
No, I think Jalen has great instincts and feel of how to create space for himself, create operational space in the pocket. I think that's one of the parts of his game, one of the aspects of the game where he has just a great feel for for what he needs in terms of being able to create enough space to operate for him in the pocket.
Was there specifically in the last interception, he backpedaled, didn't seem like there was pressure. Was that unnecessary?
Was it unnecessary? No, I think just anytime you're back there in the pocket, you're just trying to create that space to find windows to maneuver the defense, and I think that's just a part of playing quarterback. You'll see guys try to, there are really just four directions you can move. You're either moving, backwards, forwards, or sideways, or diagonal, I guess. So just as you start to navigate those windows and try to find lanes in the course of the pocket, that's something that every quarterback does is just try to find ways to navigate those tight windows.
Along those lines, he was under pressure a little more than maybe he's accustomed to being. Was there a cumulative effect in that game as it went on for him?
I don't think it was. I think the biggest thing is just treating each snap and each rush individually and not letting one affect the next. Each pocket declares a little bit differently, and how you maneuver that pocket will in turn have to declare differently. So I think just having that mindset and understanding that each play is independent and taking that mindset, I think is something that's really important.
Brian, they shut down most of your first runs. Your first 5 or 6 runs did really produce a lot of yards. When that happens, what's your philosophy as far as sticking with it and trying to make it work, or do you just figure like it's not there today, we're just going to go another direction?
Yeah, I think it just kind of depends on the flow of the game and what you need in particular. Credit those guys. They did a great job defensively. Anytime you score 14 points and turn the ball over 4 times, it's obviously not good enough. And we just have to use this as an experience to learn and continue to grow and obviously get better than what we showed on Sunday.
When you step back and look at the run-pass ratio, were you okay with the way it went?
That was fine. I think we have really good players at a bunch of different spots, and sometimes you look at some of these runs or some of these passes or extensions of the run game when you start to add in some of the RPOs and the bubbles and the swing passes and things like that of just space touches. A lot of times those are extensions of the run game. So, when you look at a stat sheet and you see it's 45 passes or however many passes it is, but I think that varies when you talk about, that type of pass and then drop back pass. Yeah, anytime you take off one of the best players in the league at their position, I think, there's obviously going to be some difference and some change. And, Lane is obviously an elite player, and he has been for a really, really long time. And, he obviously means a lot to what we do offensively and what he brings to the table. And, there's no different than, some of our other great players, whether it's Jason or Jalen or AJ Smitty, all those guys. Like, everybody has great value. And, Lane is no different. He's a spectacular player. And, when he's out there, he's one of the best in the business.
When you have a player like Driscoll that comes in cold, or any offensive lineman who comes in off the bench, is there a tendency to let's see how he does before we decide whether we're going to maybe give a little bit of help to that side? And how do you think he did when he came in?
Well, we have a ton of confidence in Jack. He's played in some big games for us over the course of the past 3 years, and he's played multiple positions. He's tough. He's smart. So he's a guy that we have a lot of faith in as a staff, and a guy that has done some really, really good things in his career here. And he's a guy that obviously we've depended on throughout the course of his career, whether it was in the 21 season or even in 22. So there's times where he's had to play a bunch, and I know he prepares like crazy to get himself ready to play, and that's the expectation.
Is there any chance, is there any point where you decide, well, okay, maybe he needs some help at this and not just Jack, but any lineman that comes in and might.
Yeah, there is always, protection consideration. Particularly you look at what we did, I guess it was 2 weeks ago in LA. A lot of the focus obviously was how do we handle Aaron Donald, and different strategies and different matchups, present those types of challenges that happen in game or leading up to the game, and we just got to do a great job of being ready to adjust on the fly.
On the final interception, what did the tape show you?
Yeah, those just credit to the Jets. They made a good play. Obviously in that situation, protecting a 2-point lead, we're trying to get the first down and end the football game. And unfortunately for us, we didn't do a good enough job on that play. And ultimately, that always starts with me, and I'll take full responsibility for not being able to get that done. And but you look on the other side of it is credit the defense. They did a good job. They made a play, and we weren't good enough to get it done.
How about this Dolphins defense? What sort of challenges do they present for you?
Well, obviously it's a very well coached defense. Coach Fangio, he spent some time here. And they have some fantastic players, Chubb and Jalen Phillips. They got really, really good edge rushers. Xavier Howard playing corner. So they got some guys that have played a lot of ball. And they're really, really good scheme, and they play hard, and they execute. So we got to do, just like any other week. We got to come out here and be ready to go. It'll be an awesome environment, awesome atmosphere to get back in the link on Sunday night. And I know everybody is really, really hungry to go out there and ready to perform.
That time that you spent with Vic last year, I guess, how much of a resource is that, as you're planning for now?
Yeah, I think, any time that you get a chance to be around someone, you pick up tidbits and you just try to be a sponge and learn as much as you can. And, I always admire guys who have done this at a really high level for such a long time. Coach Fangio's been coaching in this league for probably almost 40 years. And so there's so much knowledge, there's so much football, there's so many things that he's seen throughout the course of his career. And there's just little things that pop up that you can always learn from. And, I've been truly blessed in my career to be around some coaches who have a lot of experience and been able to soak up as much knowledge from those guys as humanly possible. And sometimes it may be some of the simplest things. I'll never forget my time at Florida of Coach Spurrier would walk in every once in a while from his office on the 3rd floor, and he would just come and spend 5 minutes with you, and you feel like, man, I really got something from that. And it could have been just a really, really simple message or a really, really simple idea. But, anytime you get a chance to learn from others and have that growth mindset and use it in a way to make yourself a better coach or a better player or whatever it is, I think those opportunities are always welcome.
To Driscoll for a second. Obviously, you have two subs on the right side there next to each other. I don't know how much Sua and Jack have played together, if at all, or even taken reps together. How much does that compound the whole situation there with protection?
Well, I think, those guys maybe have not played together in games, but they've played together, whether it's scout team work or, when you're in the second group or all the training camp, that was the combination. And so, and then Coach Stout does a great job throughout the course of the week of getting guys the necessary reps in case stuff like this happens. So there's always contingency plans, and those reps are always set out like that accordingly.
Jalen, the way you do, what do you think it will do for his competitive juices to have Tua on the other sideline?
Well, Jalen's the ultimate competitor. I think regardless of who we're playing, I think one of the beautiful thing about Jalen is his approach, his consistency will always remain the same in terms of how he gets ready, how he enjoys competing, how he enjoys the process of getting ready to play, and then ultimately going out there and playing. So I think Jalen will be fired up to play just because he's Jalen.
As a follow-up to DJ's question, what perspective do you think Vic Fangio has on your scheme, on your personnel from his time at the Super Bowl last year?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was here, so he knows some of the things we like to do. But ultimately, like, I mean, it's gonna be a battle on the field, and we got to do a great job of putting the players in a great position to go out there and execute what we're doing. And I'm sure he's preaching the same thing. So that familiarity in terms of being here, I think it obviously goes both ways.
Because of it?
Yeah, not necessarily. I think a part of this too is like you're not in their meetings, so just like anything else, it's you got to be ready to adjust on game day, and I think that's really, really something that's kind of shown its head throughout the course of the season. Is I think one of the most important things as a staff is we have to be ready for the unknown and be ready to adjust accordingly.
And following up on Tim's question, anecdotally, what have you seen or observed or heard in your conversations with Jalen since that game on Sunday about how he's responding?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question in my mind how everybody's going to respond. I think we have a building full of fierce competitors, and anybody, when you lose a football game, it sucks. The amount of work and effort that you put in to prepare throughout the week, and ultimately when it does not go your way, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. And, I think Nick always talks about this as well. It's like it's very healthy to, like, drag yourself through the mud in these situations and really take a deep look within. And I think the first thing is, like, everybody's like, okay, what could I have done better? And I think that's a very, very natural reaction. I think that's the correct reaction. And I know everybody in this building feels like there was something that they could have done to prevent that outcome. And, I think for us as an offense, it's really about how we respond. And I know we have a great group of men in this building, a great group of leaders on offense that'll respond the right way.
Jalen talks a lot about how he responds to adversity and how those moments are defining moments for him. I guess as someone who's known him as long as you have, where do you think that comes from? Has he always been that way?
Yeah, I think as long as I've known him, in terms of a football setting, absolutely. And I think that's every great player. There's when you deal in sports, there's going to be disappointment, and we try to prevent that as much as possible. And obviously, we didn't do a good enough job this past Sunday, and that was very, very evident and very clear. But the only goal now is to fix it and to move on. And you truly have to have that mindset, and it requires a level of mental toughness to correct obvious mistakes, move forward with enthusiasm and intention, that you have another opportunity to go out there and get it right.